The head of Women's Refuge says the new law cracking down on family violence is long overdue and a good start. The Family Violence Amendment Act, which comes into force today, aims to keep victims, including children, safe. It also creates 3 new offences, including one of strangulation or suffocation, which carries a maximum sentence of 7 years imprisonment. We can speak now with Ange Jury, Chief Executive of Women's Refuge. She's in the Wellington studio. Good morning.
Yeah, kia ora, Susie.
So I guess what do you see these as being? A good start, but anything more than that?
They're a good start, and they sit in alongside a whole suite of other measures that are going to be coming. Legislation by itself isn't going to solve the problem, but at least this legislation, particularly the assault by a family member offence, does give us a little bit more the ability to charge appropriately and see what it is we're dealing with.
Do you see that as being the most meaningful part of this legislation?
I think the strangulation and suffocation offence is a really good one too. We know that that's the biggest indicator of lethality, potentially, someone being killed. And a lot of people, particularly victims, don't actually understand how dangerous it is, and certainly the people that are doing the strangling don't understand quite how easy it is to kill somebody.
And so this is in a context where the person may not actually end up dying because they're strangled, but that in itself is a real red flag, a real marker.
It's a real risk. When you deprive anyone of oxygen, you run the risk of killing them, and there's no better way in the world for somebody who's trying to control their partner than to prove that they can actually kill them. It's actually quite simple. And the big issue too with strangulation is that often there's no external marks, and the swelling internally in the throat can actually prove fatal hours after the event. So it's really insidious and it's very dangerous.
We know that New Zealand has a significant domestic violence and family violence problem.
Yeah.
How big a part is something like strangulation of that overall problem? Is it something you see commonly?
Yeah, it is something that's seen commonly, and because it's never been highlighted before, it's been sort of one of those taken for granted things that are happening when you're working with victims. They talk about being punched and kicked and all those sort of things, and then halfway through the story you'll get, and he held me up against the wall by my neck and I couldn't breathe, and that's sort of like not seen as, they don't highlight it as something that's significant to them.
Why do you think people wouldn't think that was significant?
Because it's part and parcel of what's going on around them, and it's, people can understand a punch. They actually see that, but the strangulation is so often someone just holding someone against a surface, so they don't even call it strangling, they call it choking and things like that. So
because it doesn't apparently feel or would be described as violent as a kick, say, people sort of underestimate it.
I think so.
It seems strange to me that this is not something that was already covered by legislation.
Well, it was, but it was called an assault.
So it was more generic.
Yeah, it was a very, very generic set of charges.
And making it precise, what exactly does that do to sort of help the process from your perspective?
It identifies that this is a potentially lethal assault. This is something that could, by accident or by design, actually deprive someone of their life.
You're saying this is a good start in terms of these changes. What else do you want to see, though?
We want to see these bed in. We want to see these offences being used. And I think one of the really important changes with this legislation is one of the other new offences, which is the assault by a family member. This is the numbers have been sort of hidden in, not deliberately hidden, but hidden in a range of non-specific assault, male against female, grievous injury, all of those sorts of things. These changes actually highlight that these things are occurring within a family environment. We need to know that.
And by changing these and making these more specific offences, will that also mean that recording these offences becomes more straightforward and indeed more precise about what exactly is going on?
It will, and we've been asking for more accurate numbers, and the UN have been asking for more accurate numbers from us, and the data up until now has been really quite opaque. So this is going to give us a bit of a step along, I think.